Ted Cruz is upset about what's happening in Nigeria to Christians. I'm not against him being upset about that. You say it's much more complicated than
much more
he's presenting. Probably more tribal than religious. I don't know much about it.
A few things that I noted. So I went to Open Doors. Open Doors is one ministry that has been around for years, along with the Voice of the Martyrs. They really focus on, again, persecuted Christians around the world. Okay. According to Open Doors, they do this watch list. I think it's every year or every other year, but their top 10 of 50 of the 50 on the watch list, many of them are in Africa and eastward, including Pakistan and North Korea, right? What do these all have in common, except for North Korea? All these countries are largely run by Islamists, okay? That's number one. Number two, they have no rights, if you will. If you're not a Muslim, you have no rights. The Christians have no rights. And even other smaller minority groups have no rights. There's no first A, certainly. There's no 2A, that's another one. And there's no, I guess I would call it separation of the religion and the church and the state, so to speak. They're all intertwined. So a lot of them are Islamic run theocratically, if you will. So it's all hell. It's all hell and haywire. Christians have been persecuted in these countries. There are no rights. You can't have Bibles. You can't go to church, definitely, without being slaughtered, beheaded. So do we have a place? Do we have a moral obligation? I think we do. And see, this is the question I wrote down, and it's just a thought question. I was challenging myself. President Trump ran on no more wars, America first. So I'm wondering now, is our side going to say, no, President Trump, no, that's not us. We don't have any concerns with that. Or are we going, that's not America first, that's Nigeria first, or whatever other country? Or do you think we have a moral obligation to intervene? I think we do. I also think right now, where is the UN? Because this is the kind of thing that the UN is supposed to be for.
Yes, you're right, but they're not doing a doggone thing. All they're doing is sitting around having nice lunches in their pretty buildings. The UN has been absolutely useless for more than a generation.
Absolutely.
For more than a generation. It's a waste of time, a waste of money, a waste of effort.
But how much has Ted Cruz said about the U.S. funded destruction of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church?
Nothing. Nothing at all.
Nothing.
I mean,
how can that be?
Listen, Tucker. Nobody. I mean, the Washington Post did a hit piece on me. A woman I knew quite well did a terrible hit piece, tried to present me as a Russian agent. That was their focus. There was no issue about what's happening to the church. None at all. And the funny thing, by the way, is we are not trying to change American policy. Where you and I disagree is I've always been totally supportive of Ukraine from a military standpoint because my clients are in the front line.
Right.
Members of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church are fighting and dying for Ukraine.
Right.
And I don't know if you remember, last time I met you, I showed you a video that we had done of some young men in the army speaking out for the church. Well, one of those young men has just died fighting Russia. And his comment in that video was to the president, how do you want me to fight when my own church, I can't defend my own church in my town?
And sad.
And Arseny, here is a bishop. One of my lawyers went to the jail in the war zone to meet Bishop Arseny. He has been in jail 17 months. He has no stomach. He is horribly ill, horribly ill. He is a monk. He is a bishop. He has spent his years devoted to a cathedral. What happens is we think after 17 months, they're going to release this poor man in his 60s, possibly to die. They get him out for a moment, and the secret police arrest him again on the trumped-up charge that he resisted the Russian invasion. He didn't resist the Russian invasion, some completely bogus charge. And he is incarcerated again. It's a level of cruelty and torture I cannot express to you.
And Cruz has said nothing about it. No, really, no one said anything about it. But Cruz specifically, but he's all of a sudden, kind of out of nowhere, deeply concerned about the plight of Christians in Nigeria, which I want to restate. Maybe a totally valid concern. I don't know. But that's weird. What is that? All of a sudden, everybody's concerned about people who clearly have no track record of being interested in Christians at all, including Ted Cruz. What is going on? Where is this coming from?
Well, in fact, what's interesting is they're calling it a genocide. And a genocide, under international legal terms, requires an intent. And certainly it's a very strange scenario where you have a government richly populated by Christians and accusing them of some form of genocide.
The president whose wife's a Christian pastor. So, but I mean, one thing I do understand is coordinated propaganda, and this is coordinated propaganda. Is it?
Look, I can tell you that the Nigerians have no idea where this is coming from. They've wanted Washington's attention since the beginning of the Trump administration. There are 230 million Nigerians who long for a strong relationship with the United States, who are being cultivated by Russia, cultivated by China, cultivated by India, but want to work with America. And we ignore them until we condemn them for a genocide that is absolutely not a genocide. Yes, I support President Trump's interest in helping out Christians everywhere. But let's be fair to a government who is working to try to protect Christians and doesn't have the resources.
Right. This is clearly, I'll just say it out loud. It's an effort to draw the attention of faithful Christians in the United States away from longstanding persecution that we have studiously ignored in Ukraine and other parts of the world. That is, it's obvious to me what's going on. Does that sound crazy?
No, because I don't have another way to explain it. And one other thing I want to mention on your show is that we have this new white paper on...
I don't know whether I will be the next, but for me, I've already told my family, my members, if they kidnap me, nobody should contribute one kobo. My grace will speak that will lead to Christian liberation. That day is coming. I'm just waiting for them. Even I will tell them, please kill me quickly, because nobody will do it. And if they point home, they will tell them our daddy covenant last will that we should never pay a kobo. Please kill him, because my blood will be useful.
If you turn on primetime news, you're probably going to hear about what's going on with Ukraine.
On Ukraine, Ukrainian city of Dnipro. Ukraine has come under heavy bombardment from Russia.
Or what's going on with Gaza. But in Gaza.
For Gaza.
Gaza. But you're probably going to hear nothing about the fact that one country has executed more persecutions towards Christians than any other countries around the world combined, and that's Nigeria. Just this year, 7,087 Christians have been killed, beheaded in many instances this year, just for going to church.
We got to touch on what's going on in Nigeria. And President Trump is on it. So he is threatening to take military action against Nigeria if its government fails to stop what he calls the mass slaughter of Christians by radical Islamist terrorists. All of the shows here on Metro Conservative Media Network have mentioned and talked about, raised awareness about this, but it has not been talked about in mainstream media, and not nearly as much talk about it on other platforms. But President Trump has recently addressed it. So as I mentioned earlier, he is threatening to take military action against Nigeria. Nigeria has rejected President Trump's threat of military intervention to protect the country's Christian population. As Christians continue to be massacred at the hands of Islamist militias in the northern region of the most populous African country, Trump has sounded the alarm and said he may even use military force. He was quoted to say, if the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria. and may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns ablazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. Now, Nigerian government has pushed back and said they don't know what they're talking about. There's no persecution of Christians taking place. Nicole, what are your thoughts on all of this? Do you think President Trump is just making threats, or do you think there's really some bite behind his bark?
No. I think that there's a lot of truth in what he's saying. This is the shot across their bow. This is their wake up call. That this is your get your shit together call from Donald Trump. I'm sure it was followed up by a phone call from Marco Rubio. But the northern part of Nigeria is Muslim, right? They used to kind of be a homogenous society. There's a little bit of everybody living next to everybody. And as we know, with radical Islamists, that doesn't work. So it's not new, the slaying of Christians in Nigeria. It's just picked up velocity, the killing of Christians in Nigeria. So there's like a middle land that goes across the country. It kind of is in the northern part, but it's kind of in the middle. In that place, not only have they killed the Christians, but they just assume their houses and land like these people never existed. So it's getting to a point where the southern part of the country, where large numbers of Christian lives, are getting very nervous. And you're seeing more and more Christian pastors say, take my life, but leave my people. And that's untenable. People got really angry with Donald Trump when he talked about the white Christian Afrikaners and bringing them to the United States. He's going to have to do something. This is not something that he can abide. This is not something the world can abide. 2 reasons. Nigeria is mineral rich. This is the reason why China is in Nigeria. China is in Nigeria. Maybe a couple of years ago, the radical Islamists kidnapped 2 Chinese people and bartered to get them returned. They sent a ransom. China paid the ransom, but then found the guys and killed the guys. This is a lawless country. They don't live the way that we live. The government flips from Christian to Muslim, back to Christian, back to Muslim. So the instability is already there, but the onslaught of killing Christians is not something that Donald Trump is willing to put up with, whether it's in South Africa or in Nigeria. He's just not going to stand by and watch it happen.
Nigeria is home to some 220 million people, and it's almost evenly divided between Muslims in the north and Christians who are concentrated in the south and central regions. However, over the last couple of years, we've seen Islam has spread throughout the world, and Nigeria is just another place where it's happening. What are your thoughts?
What it's going to take, though, Shelley, I think, and I'm hoping that the administration can get them to stand down through diplomatic means. So it won't have to be any kind of military intervention. Trump said that he is planning to scale back refugee entries to 7,500 next year. With white Afrikaners, the Christians who are being persecuted in South Africa being one of them. I'm wondering if he's going to increase that number to include the Nigerians that are being persecuted, or will it be, no new wars? He wants to be a peacetime president, and maybe it'll be more clandestine, kind of military exercises, I think that's what they call them, to kind of bring them to heel, because we can't continue at this point. I mean, that I know you guys have seen that video of the pastor standing in that mass grave with bodies all around them. When I say it breaks your heart into 2 pieces, these people aren't being killed because they were robbers, beggars. They're being killed simply because they love Christ. And as a Christian person, I think that really hits all of us in the feels. It really does.
Yeah.